Right now, all new for you at 5:30. Some bombshells today in the case for Steve Lawson, one of the three men accused in the murder of Crystal Rogers. And some key takeaways today coming out of the Bowling Green courtroom. Prosecutor Shane Young saying Brooks Houck's brother, Nick, and their own mother, Rosemary Houck, remain under investigation as, quote, co-conspirators in the case.
That's right. And WHAS is analyst for this case. Nick, thank you for joining us right now, Nick Mudd. Tell us about some of this testimony today that stands out to you for folks just kind of hearing about what happened today. Tell us who stood out in testimony today.
I would say there was a witness, Elizabeth Chesser, who has a child with Joseph Lawson, who was Stephen Lawson's son. And her mom, Tammy, was actually married to Joseph Lawson, and she stated at one point she knew he had committed murder and she was going to tell on him, talking about Tammy. And at that point, a lot of the jurors started taking notes.
Well, I got to pick up on that. We know there's only one person in this case charged with murder, and that's Brooks Houck. Lawson isn't faced with murder charges, but what does her testimony do to the jury? They were all taking notes, apparently. I mean, what does it do to a case like this, in your opinion? Because you know all those attorneys involved down there, including the prosecutor and the judge.
Right, and I think I said yesterday that the prosecution had a mountain to climb. They're climbing that mountain right now.
How?
They're getting up it. The fact that the jurors focused on that so much, and, that essentially she stated he knew he basically was involved. I mean, it indicates his involvement here.
Well, she said committed murder.
She did say commit. She didn't go into detail specifically about that, but that's, she did state that. So that leads to the question of, is he more involved than what we thought, of what the defense is saying? The defense has been arguing, hey, this is just tampering with physical evidence. He didn't know anything about this. But I think through all of the witnesses we've seen today, as the days unfolded, it's showing that he's much more involved than what we initially thought.
Nick, there were a lot of witnesses today who made the connection between Steve Lawson and Brooks Houck.
Right.
How important is that to keep showing they're having these meetings, things like that are happening?
It certainly shows his involvement was much more than what we initially thought, even from opening statement from the prosecutor. I mean, they are really building a solid case for conspiracy to commit murder here. It's not just somebody that came and moved a car at the bequest of Brooks Houck. This is somebody who knew what was going on, according to the witnesses, according to the testimony, who knew that, certainly was involved at least in her disappearance somehow, potentially getting rid of the body, not just moving the car.
In this case, though, Nick, what's the benefit of bringing up the brother and the mother, calling them co-conspirators? They don't face any charges in this case. I mean, all of Bardstown has their own theories and have for 10 years.
And I'm not sure maybe the defense was going to shoot for red herring, but maybe the prosecution said, look, they're still out there as somebody we're investigating. Maybe we're not here about it, but trust us, we're still looking into them.
A couple of the witnesses, the defense, came back and told the jury, hey, I believe it was Tammy, talked about having drug issues and not having a good memory. How legit are these witnesses, and what kind of, impression are they making on the jury right now, do you think?
I think that was Lauren Harden you mentioned.
I'm sorry,
yes.
Tammy was
but the fact is that the phone call between Lawson and Houck was about an apartment. And Miss Harden got up there and said, I wasn't looking for an apartment, and versus Mr. Lawson's claiming that she was. And I mean, she got out there and flat said, no, that's a lie. And so I know there was an attack on her credibility. That's why the prior drug use was brought up. But I mean, she was matter of fact, straightforward, absolutely, that is not true.
So once again, no cameras in the courtroom. Judge ruled against this. They do believe we could get a verdict possibly by Friday night. We already know that Lawson's own attorney admitted to the tampering with physical evidence. So the jury says, well, that decision's easy to make. The conspiracy. It sounds like you still think he'll get a conviction on that based on what you're hearing coming out, despite the fact they're throwing out co-conspirators and committed murder and that kind of stuff?
I didn't yesterday, but as of today, at the rest of the testimony today, the prosecution's putting their best foot forward, and they're certainly building a strong case for conspiracy to commit murder.
All right.
Is there a chance her testimony today about him committing murder could get a further investigation? I mean, what a true bombshell, if you want to use the word, thrown out there, out of the blue.
Right. You would think that it would be explored a little bit more. I think it was kind of left out there, and the jury was taking notes on it. So I think they took it seriously, and so that could go a long way in them making a decision of whether or not he is guilty of conspiracy to commit murder.
All right, excellent analysis from Nick Mudd of the Mudd Law Group. Thank you very much, Nick. We appreciate you being with us here.